We want His righteousness to fill our lives. We've asked for all of these things to be filling us, changing us, providing for us, and now we've reached that door. And now the question is, what are we going to do when we get to the door? Jacob said, what are you going to do when you get there? Well, you're going to knock. But can you imagine the foolishness of reaching a door, something you have sought after, something you have worked for, something that has changed within you so that you could reach that spot and then simply walking away? Maybe sitting down and going, well, I reached my destination. This was a great trip. These are the things that seem to be absurd to us. But if you think about how many times we have asked for God's good gifts and we have been filled with them, or the opportunity has been provided, or we have had this growth happening within us, and now we get there and we go, you know what, God, I'm really not game for what you're calling me to at this point. God, I'm really thankful for the patience you've given me, but I'm going to set it on my shelf and I'm going to look at it as a trophy, and then when the time comes for me to be patient, I'm just going to leave that there. God, I'm so thankful for all the things that you have provided for me, and I'm so richly blessed at this point. And God, thank you for those things. I see the opportunity to share. I'm going to keep my stuff. Thank you very much. That's the equivalent of walking up to this door and knocking on it, or choosing not to knock it, or sitting down, or walking away, or whatever it may represent. That's what Jesus is saying. Look, when you have the good things from God within you, when you have asked for these things, when they have filled you, when you have sought after them, the natural expression is to do something with it, to put it into work, to put it into action. Not because it's going to gain you anything else, but because, of course, why wouldn't you? Jesus says this to his followers a little bit later in the book of Matthew. In Matthew chapter 25, he's setting the scene of that final judgment. He says, look, there's going to come a time when everyone is going to be called to me. I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to separate them. And I'm going to say the same things to them. I'm going to say, you saw me hungry. You saw me naked. You saw me without clothes. You saw me in prison. And to one group, he's going to say, and you served me. They may not understand that it was Jesus they were serving, but he says, that's what you did. You took the good things that had been entrusted to you, the good things that you had asked for, the good things that changed you from the inside, and you put them into action. Come into the eternal rest. To others, he's going to say, and you did nothing with it. You turned them aside. So whether they had ever asked for the good things or they had spurned the good things from the beginning, they don't receive the rest. They never knocked at the door. They never went through the door, whereas these others had. James even puts it this way. When he's writing to people and he's telling them about faith, he says, what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? He's saying you believed God would give it to you. Maybe you even asked for it, but what have you done with it? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, it's almost like James knew what Jesus had said earlier here. And one of you says, go in peace, be warm, without giving them the things that were needed for the body, what good is it? So also is faith by itself. If it does not have works, it is dead. James says, look, if you're just asking for the stuff and then keeping it for yourself, if you're seeing the need for it in your life but you don't put it into action, that's not real faith. That's the equivalent of going up to the door and then turning away. That's the equivalent of seeing the need for it, desiring it in your life, but then doing nothing with it. And he says, what was the point? There was no point in any of this. You didn't really believe it. You didn't really understand it. You didn't do something with it that would really have changed your life. It was a word only. It wasn't in deed. It hadn't really sunk in. Because the natural outcropping of someone who has sought after Christ is to then do something with it. The kingdom is not a place we find a seat in and sit still. The kingdom is an active and vibrant place. And so when we start thinking about that initial question, what do we want? Do we want the good things of God? Do we want to be active in His kingdom? Do we want to be changed, which means it will be different. It will be uncomfortable. It may call us into some unexpected places. Or do we want to set that aside? Say thanks, but no thanks. Or I'd like it my way, please, God. What are we asking for? Have we even begun asking for those good things? Or are they still kind of a misty idea off in the distance?